Welcome to the Gut Girl podcast. All right, so we are here today with a very exciting guest, Ash Bott. Ash Bott is our first ever guest on the Gut Girl podcast, and I am thrilled and privileged to have you here today.
Feelings mutual, Joy.
Oh, thank you, thank you. You are, so the listeners know, you are an incredible clinical nutritionist who specialises in gut and hormonal health. So, I'm so happy you are here because, I mean, people would know because they would have clicked on the episode title, but today is about what on earth is the gut microbiome thing? What's that about? That sounds crazy. Like, what is that?
It's a good place to start.
Yeah.
So the gut microbiome, in short, are the trillions and billions of microbial cells that live in our gut, which is our large intestine and our colon. There are so many of them that we are, in fact, more microbial cells. And when I say microbial cells, that includes all the bacteria, funguses, there's even viruses, there's even these weird things called archaea that existed before humans.
Right.
We are more of those cells than we are human cells. So we're essentially just a big bag of bugs. So this is why it's so important that we look after those bugs, and in turn they're going to look after us.
I mean, it sounds a bit gross, really, like when you put it like that. So essentially, are you saying that, you know, if I'm understanding it right, the gut microbiome it's a bunch of different types of things, including bacteria, right? Is that where there's bacteria that we have in us that we want there? Or
yeah, I understand your confusion because bacteria historically have got a bad rap. But rest assured, there is really no such thing, little caveat I'll get to in a moment, as good and bad bacteria. So it's all about the bacteria being in the right balance, and this will support a healthy microbiome. Okay. Now, back to that little caveat that I mentioned before is there are pathogenic bacteria and parasites. Now, they're the exception. They do, without a doubt, cause issues within the body and with the microbial system.
okay.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, you're saying that we have this thing in our gut called the gut microbiome, and there's a balance of bacteria in there, and all of that bacteria is actually like good, like we want that there. That's important.
Really important. So easiest way to refer to it are microbes, because it's not just bacteria living in our gut. It is this community of the bacteria, viruses, fungi, archaea, etc., that live in this really densely populated community in our large intestine. And I might have freaked you out by talking about those parasites and pathogenic ones, but the majority of our microbes are essential to every aspect of our health, right? So not just our digestive health, but a lot of really important processes start within our gut. So this can filter out to our mental health. We'll get into that a little bit later on, but our mental health, our hormonal health, our immune health, our metabolic health, and the list goes on.
Okay. So this microbiome in our gut is not just impacting our gut. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. Okay. So the balance of our gut, the balance or imbalance of our gut, yes, definitely affects our digestive health, but it can also have systemic effects throughout our body. So it might not just, whilst you might not experience constipation or bloating or diarrhea, if you have symptoms that, if you have issues with your skin or energy or mood or hormones, this may be the result of poor gut health.
Okay. I mean, it's pretty wild to think how connected the gut is to other parts of the body. I mean, just coming back to the idea of this microbiome, and as you say, the different microbes, that's what you call them, yeah? Is it microbes? Okay.
Yes, that's the collective term.
That's the collective term.
All of the different
bacteria and
et cetera, that live in this community, or we could think of it as like a lush rainforest. So essentially every different microbe plays a really important role. much like the flora and fauna within a rainforest system, right? So we want a really lush rainforest. So this means like a really great diversity of species, lots of different species of microbes in our rainforest. Really important as well that it's a flourishing rainforest. So they're in large volumes where appropriate. And the final thing as well would be that there's an appropriate balance within the ecosystem, because that's really important to the health of your rainforest, right? So a good example of where an imbalance can affect and trickle down and have impact on the entire ecosystem would be, for example, if all of the eagles in your rainforest died. The eagles became extinct for some external reason, maybe the chemtrails, or maybe there's been some other predator that's killed off all the eagles, right?
Okay. Yes.
And the eagles, they eat the snakes. So there's nothing to eat the snakes. So there's been this overpopulation of snakes on the forest floor. So in terms of bringing this back to the gut, if there is a die-off of one bacterial species, there's now additional resources, and perhaps another species will see an opportunity. They will start to feed off all of these resources and they will become overpopulated. This is what we call an overgrowth in the gut. It causes an imbalance, and then that can in turn have symptoms. Like, for example, if there's too many snakes, then they might start to eat all the native birds and native frogs, and that is going to have another effect.
The whole system of the rainforest gets out of whack.
The whole system is in trouble, essentially, and in a gut health sense, when there are overgrowths, or when there is lack of diversity, or when species die or reduce in number. It causes what we call a dysbiotic state. So this means that your gut is imbalanced.
Okay, so a rainforest that's in trouble, a microbiome that's in trouble, it's called a dysbiotic state, is that right?
Yeah, or dysbiosis.
Or dysbiosis, sorry. Dysbiosis, okay. Yeah, right. So dysbiosis is when you talk about then when things start to go wrong in other parts of the body, like let's say, you know, for me personally, some skin issues I had seem to be linked to some gut issues that I had. So that's the dysbiosis that's linking to the other issues. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So the bacteria in your gut don't just look after your gut health and function. They also play a key role in many other systems of your body. So, for example, with your skin health, Georgia, it may be a case of potential autoimmunity. So potentially some of the cells in your gut that were responsible for maintaining the integrity of your gut lining, they've been killed off for whatever reason. Maybe you went through a period of stress. Maybe you're drinking a lot. Maybe you're eating too much fast food or something like that. Mm-hmm. And these particular microbes have been starved. They're not doing their job. And because of that, the gut wall is starting to get a little bit weak. So your gut wall, because there's not enough of these microbes to continue to build your gut wall, what's happening is there may then be a resulting state of leaky gut. That means that potentially a lot of your undigested food or the bacteria or viruses that are generally contained within your gut microbiome are starting to leak through your gut wall.
Oh dear.
Your immune system is like, hang on, what the hell is these? What the hell is this? They're registering them as foreign bodies, and it's creating an inflammatory response. This can in turn create inflammation in your skin. And that's when, boom, you might start to see your eczema, your dermatitis, or that sort of thing pop up. So that's just one example of how a disruption in your gut microbiome, a lack of diversity, or an increased overgrowth can create issues throughout the body.
I think it's quite like a shift in gears to think about your gut from this point of view, to think about the fact that you've got this rainforest in there, and maybe it's a really happy rainforest and there are all the right animals and birds, but maybe some have died off and others have, taken over, and there's an imbalance. And I think that I really love that image of the rainforest.
And it's going to be a constant there are going to be constant fluctuations in your rainforest, right? So it's necessary to acknowledge that there are going to be fluctuations in your ecosystem depending on what is happening in your life, in your body. There are obviously factors that affect your gut health, and that's why we're here talking about this today, and what we can do to fortify our gut so that when we do go through periods of stress, or perhaps we have a late night, that our gut health and our microbes are still protected, and we can maintain that balance within our microbial environment.
I suppose this is why that I've asked you to come on here for a few episodes, because there's a bit to talk about. We've talked a bit today about the microbiome, getting a bit of a sense of what on earth this is about, and I'm really excited for the next 2 episodes that we're going to do together here, because I want to, get all your thoughts around how to help the gut, what sort of things help it, what sort of things hurt it, sort of, get more of an understanding of, well, then how does one look after their gut microbiome? What do you do with this rainforest? How do you make sure that it's okay?
Want to focus on that, want to focus on the things that we can do to increase the diversity, richness, and restore the balance if it is out of balance. And just touch on as well, acknowledge the things that do hinder it, because it's important that we eliminate those so that we can give your gut the best chance of healing in a fast and sustainable way.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. Well, I want to thank you for coming on this first episode. And I feel very privileged to have had you here to kick the Gut Girl podcast off. And if anyone does want to read more about the gut microbiome and learn more about it, Ash has collaborated with the podcast to put together a beautiful resource on the gut microbiome. So that's on the Gut Girl podcast, but I'll also put a link for that in the show notes if you want to learn a bit more about that. We'll finish now. We could talk about this for hours, but we'll finish now. And I will see you on the next episode.
See you then.
That's a wrap for today's episode of the Gut Girl podcast. Thanks for listening. See you next time as we learn more real-world strategies for gut health, one bite at a time. Everything you've heard today is for educational and entertainment purposes only. The views of podcast guests are not necessarily my own. Both myself and the guests are not aware of your personal medical and psychological circumstances. Any advice given is general in nature.